They say home is where the heart is, but today it's Holmes is where the heart is. I am doing the Holmes is where the heart is tag. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life. Today I am back with a tag video, the Holmes is where the heart is tag. And I first off need to thank the two people who tagged me to do this video. First, I was tagged by the Mild Rumpus, and I was also tagged recently by Kat at Cat and Too Many Books. So thank you both for the tag. I am going to do my best to answer all of these questions. I did struggle a bit with some of my answers to these questions, so we'll see how this goes. I did try to confine all of my answers to the mystery genre. I do have one answer to one specific question that just, there was no possible way I could come up with something related to a mystery novel for that one. But everything else, I thought, because it's Sherlock Holmes and those are mysteries, that I should relate them all to mystery novels. I guess without further ado, we should just get started. First question. Elementary, my dear Watson, share a classic mystery novel that you consider a must-read. I don't know how I could say anything besides Agatha Christie. So I am going to pick Murder on the Orient Express, which of course is one of her most famous, and it is one of her most famous for a reason, that it is cleverly plotted. It's got a ton of red herrings in it, and if you've never read it or seen any of the film adaptations of it, I think it's a real challenge to figure out who done it in this one. And she really proves why she is the queen of the genre in that particular book. Second question. Baker Street Irregulars, recommend a book with a group of unlikely heroes or a diverse ensemble cast. I really kind of struggled with this one, at least trying to keep it into the mystery genre. I mean, lots of mysteries I feel like feature, interesting ensemble casts. They often have, casts of characters coming together who maybe don't know each other and wouldn't otherwise be in this situation if there hadn't been a murder or some sort of mystery. So it was really challenging. And then suddenly it dawned on me that I read a book last summer that I think really is a fantastic read. It's not necessarily a traditional mystery novel, but it was such a page turner, so clever, and just kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time I was reading it. And that was The Feast by Margaret Kennedy. And this particular book, you actually know what has happened, and that a hotel has collapsed. It was situated on the edge of a cliff, and it has collapsed, and a number of people have perished in the collapse of this building. And it says, over the week before the landslide, we meet the hotel guests in all their eccentric glory: the selfish aristocrat, slothful hotelier, snooping housekeeper, bereaved couple, bohemian authoress, and poverty-stricken children. And as friendships form and romances blossom, sins are revealed and the cliff cracks widen. It is so well done. I just could not believe how wonderful this book was. I can't recommend it enough. It makes a fantastic summer read, and even though you know what's going to happen, you just keep turning the pages because you don't know who all is involved and you want to know. And there are so many just quirky characters in this one. I highly recommend. This was one of my favorite reads of last year. Fantastic book. Next question. The game is afoot. Name a book that had a plot twist or revelation that completely surprised you. I'm going to go back to a book that I just recently reread in January, and that is another Agatha Christie, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. This one, you guys, if you have not read this one, read it. It's so good. And I remember the first time I read it, when you find out who done it, it's like, oh! And that is all I'm going to say. I completely did not see it coming. And the second time I read it was really fun because I could actually see where she places the clues that give you the identity of the murderer. And it's incredibly, incredibly well done. Highly recommend. Definitely one of her best. I think we're on question 4 now. 221 Baker Street. Talk about the time you visited somewhere of literary significance. Here we go with my only non-mystery genre related answer to one of these questions, because I haven't visited that many literary places that I can think of really, or that stand out to me. There's a lot of places I would love to visit, but I haven't yet. The one that I have been to that was so wonderful, just utterly charming. I loved every second of my time there. And that was when I visited Orchard House, the home of Louisa May Alcott. And I actually purchased this book in their gift shop there. And I was there, it was over 20 years ago. But it's so lovely. Inside the books that you purchase there, they give you a little, I never even put it in the book, but it's just like a little, library, from the library of little card to put in there. And then there was this little card, and on it says, Amos Bronson Alcott believed that everyone should keep a journal. Also, that writing down one's thoughts each day is a cleansing of the mind. Orchard House has many of the journals kept by the Alcotts. So just like this little keepsake that came, I think it came inside the book. And I purchased another book while I was at Orchard House as well, which was Fairy Tales and Fantasy Stories by Louisa May Alcott. And I've actually never read this. I just heard, I think that there are some booktubers doing Alcott in April, and I don't know, maybe I'll dip into this a little bit then. We'll see how I'm feeling. But yes, it was just so wonderful to visit Orchard House. It felt like stepping into Little Women, and it really is amazing. There are spots on the walls where Louisa May Alcott and her sisters wrote things on the walls, and they've got it under plexiglass so you can see their drawings and things. And oh, it was so lovely. If you're ever in New England and you're near Concord, I highly recommend visiting there. Next question. Question 5, Moriarty's master plan. Discuss a book where the antagonist was exceptionally cunning and memorable. Again, I really struggled with this one. I don't know where my brain is when I was trying to answer these questions. So I'm going to go back to the Queen again because she's so good at this. But Endless Night has an antagonist in it that I have never stopped thinking about since I read it. And I read it quite a few years ago now. And it's just somebody who really sticks out in my mind. And again, I don't really want to say more than that because this is one of those books where you should just go into it not knowing very much about it. But if you're looking for something that's not your typical mystery novel, this one would definitely suit the bill. It's not necessarily my favorite of hers, but it was an interesting read, and it's one that's really stuck with me. Okay, question 6. The Art of Deduction. Mention either a book that kept you guessing all the way to the end or one where you guessed the outcome early on. For this one, I decided I wanted to step away from Agatha Christie and try to find a book written by someone else that would fit this question. And the book I came up with is one that's got a really interesting premise, which is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This book is all about this person who wakes up and he's not really sure where he is or what's going on, and then every night when he goes to sleep, he wakes up in the body of somebody else, and he is not sure what is going on, but he realizes that Every night that passes, this Evelyn Hardcastle is being murdered, and he's got to figure out how to stop it, basically. It was extremely clever, extremely well written. It's a bit like the game Clue and the movie Groundhog Day mixed into a book that's got very dark kind of atmosphere to it, almost kind of gothic-y feel. And it's just a book that kept me guessing for sure the entire way through. And I think it's a book that people, you either love it or you hate it. Something about it just kind of reminded me of the style of the Westing Game, which was one of the books I read as a kid that really got me into mysteries. I really like things that are like puzzles that feel like a game is being played where the characters have to like figure out what's going on. So I'm very much drawn to those kinds of scenarios. And so this book really just was perfect for what I was looking for. And yeah, it totally kept me guessing until the end. It was unputdownable, a complete page turner. I loved every second of the reading experience. Question 7. The Hound of the Baskervilles. Talk about a book with a strong atmospheric setting or one where the setting plays a significant role in the story. I mean, where do I start? I think with mystery novels in particular, the setting is oftentimes very important to the story itself and plays a part in whatever the mystery is that's going on. And I think we can talk about lots of famous books that have famous settings, houses, places. I mean, everything from Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier to The Island in And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I think Ngaio Marsh, she loved to use the theater, and so the theater plays a big part in a number of her mysteries. I mean, you can go on and on and on. When I was thinking about my answer to this question, there is one more modern series that I think the setting of it is essential to the entire dynamic of the series as a whole. And that is the Three Pines series by Louise Penny. Still Life is the first book in the series. And Three Pines is a town in eastern Canada, and it not a real town. Louise Penny's made up a place, but it is so central to so many of the mysteries in the series and the people of the town. And our protagonists become very enmeshed in the town. They end up moving there, and their lives become very intertwined with all of the residents of the town. And those residents are recurring characters in all of the books of the series. And I just think this series, which we refer to as the Three Pines Mystery Series, would not be the same without Three Pines. I think this is a wonderful series where the setting is so important to the tone of the series. And as much as I don't know that I'd want to live in Three Pines, I would love to visit there if it was a real place. Question 8. The Reichenbach Falls. Talk about a series that you thought had ended but made a surprise comeback. Yeah, I got nothing for this. I don't know any series that were stopped and then the author decided to come back and start writing them again. I'm trying to think of anything that I've read that would qualify for that. I'm sure there are series out there. I mean, I was even trying to Google like mystery series where the author stopped and then started it again and nothing was coming up. So I decided that I would pick 2 series where the author has either stopped writing the series or is taking a long break from writing the series. And I really wish that they would continue the series because I loved it so much. And the first one is the Cormac Riley series by Dervla McTiernan. I have talked about this one before. Dervla McTiernan has written a couple of standalone books. I think she has a new book that's just been released or is about to come out. And she wrote another one before that. But this series, I loved Cormac Riley. I think he is a fantastic detective. And there's only 3, I believe, novels in the series, and then she wrote a couple of short stories as well, which I've listened to on audio, and I just can't get enough. I'm actually thinking I might reread this series this summer because I love it, and I just want to go back to it. And Dervla McTiernan, if you're watching this, could you please start writing these again? She's not watching this. And then the second series that I would love to start up again, and I don't believe that this author has stopped writing these books, but I know she has a chronic illness and it's very difficult for her to write. So that is completely understandable, but I wish if she had the ability to do it, that she would continue writing this series. And these are the Roxan Weary mysteries by Kristen Lepionka. Roxan is a private investigator, and her life is, it's a bit rough. She has some troubles, but she's such an interesting protagonist, as complicated as she is. And these are all set in Columbus, Ohio, which is where Kristen Lepionka lives as well. So she definitely knows her setting here. I devoured these when I discovered them. I think it was actually during lockdown, during the pandemic, and I just raced through them. I could not read them fast enough and really just enjoyed this. If you like female private investigators along the lines of Kinsey Milhone from Sue Grafton, or if you've read Sharon McCone by Marcia Muller, I would definitely add Roxan Weary to your TBR because she is really wonderful, and I would love it if there were more books that would come out in this series. It's fantastic. It's a little bit on the dark side, I will say that, so just fair warning. There's maybe some content that's a little more graphic than other mysteries. Not horrible, but just leaning more that way. Question 9. Sherlockian adaptations. Discuss your favorite book-to-screen adaptation or a retelling of a classic story. Okay, again, I decided to keep this to mysteries because that's what I'm talking about today. And in terms of book to screen adaptations that are mysteries, I absolutely think the Poirot TV series with David Suchet is fantastic. I have also enjoyed many of the Miss Marple adaptations. I've watched the recent Miss Marples and I've enjoyed them all. They're all very different. I've had a few different actresses playing Miss Marple, and I really should go back and rewatch them and then try to decide who I like the best. But I know I just enjoy the stories. So I thought each of the actresses portrayed Miss Marple in her own unique way, and that worked for me at the time. I also think Anne Cleeves's books have been adapted to television really well. I think the Shetland mystery series, the Vera Stanhope mystery series, and I think whoever it is that is adapting her books does an excellent job at it. And I was also trying to think if there was a retelling of a classic story. And then I thought of one that was very appropriate to this particular tag because it is a Sherlock Holmes retelling of a sort. And that is The Beekeeper's Apprentice by Laurie R. King. The Beekeeper's Apprentice really focuses on Mary Russell, who becomes Sherlock Holmes's apprentice. And she's very young when the series starts. I think she's 15 when they first meet. And this first book I really enjoyed. This series goes on. There are quite a few books in it now. So I read the first 5 or 6 books in the series, and then it stopped working for me, but I really did enjoy The Beekeeper's Apprentice. I read this many, many years ago, and I've kept it on my shelf, and I should really reread it at some point because I really did like it. I thought it was really interesting to put a woman in Sherlock Holmes's orbit and make her kind of his equal. And that was a really interesting premise to me. And if you enjoy Sherlock Holmes, I think you should give this one a try because it's a really interesting spin. Last question. The Great Detective. Recommend a book with a brilliant and memorable protagonist. There's so many. I mean, I don't even know where to start. Poirot. I mean, for all that he drives some people crazy, I love Poirot personally. But, you know, his little gray cells, when he puts them to work, he is a brilliant, brilliant detective. Miss Marple, brilliant in her own special way. I've been reading The Lord Peter Wimsey. Maybe he's not brilliant, but he is such an interesting character and fun. And then in terms of some more modern protagonists in mystery novels that I really love, Armand Gamache in the Three Pines series comes to mind. Also, Lady Hardcastle and Flo from the Lady Hardcastle Mysteries by T.E. Kinsey. Love the two of them, love their dynamic. They are whip smart, they are strong women, and even though the book is set in the 1920s, they are living their best lives without any men telling them what to do. And it's really a wonderful, wonderful series. And then definitely have to mention Ruth Galloway. I think she is a very memorable protagonist. She's just such an interesting character, and I just love her so much because she's just so fun. Okay. That is it for the Holmes is Where the Heart Is tag. I think the only thing left for me to do is tag a few people. So I'm going to tag a few people whose channels I have discovered recently and have really been enjoying. And ladies, I don't know if you want to do this tag. If any of you have already done this tag, my apologies if I'm tagging you again. But really, I just wanted to mention your channel names and feel free to do this tag if you feel up for it, and don't if you don't. That's a-okay. The three people I am going to tag are first, Joanna at Me, My Dog, and Books. I love Joanna. She is such a bright, bubbly, sparkly personality, and she's so fun. And then Miriam at Miriam Elizabeth Reads. I really enjoy listening to her talk about books, and we share quite a few similarities in our reading tastes, and her channel has just been one that I've been enjoying going back and watching a bunch of her old videos. And then lastly, I'm going to tag Victoria at A Musical Bookworm. And Victoria has such a lovely, soothing style to the way that she films her videos. And again, very much enjoying going back and watching all of the videos that she filmed before I found her. And let's chat down in the comments. Tell me if you have any other answers to any of these questions, and or anything else bookish related that you want to talk about. And please hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed and would like to see more bookish content from me. And as always, I will be back with another video very soon. Bye!